Welcome back to the Eye of Jupiter podcast live. This week we have on Misty Gaithers, and she has a podcast. She will tell me the name of it. She's going to do all our plugs right after I get her on stage. And here's something interesting. If you see at the bottom, I have my first super chat or tag or whatever that's called. It happens to be my wonderful, amazing moderator, Pamela Stefanich. Thank you so very much, Stan. You say you want to meet Misty Gaither? Well, I got her. By the way, if you love the podcast, you'd like to see the live version every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central. And I will be on here every Wednesday as far as I possibly can because, sometimes I do have some technical issues as well as my guests running into a lot of situations recently. But Misty, she's been upstanding. Hey, touching base with you today. We going on? What's crack-a-lack and how StreamYard work? And I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. We got you. Do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed my content. If you enjoy our guests. I'm also on Rumble if you want to go over and look at Rumble. Eventually, I will be putting on some more scathing type of information that you are not allowed to hear on YouTube. And I'm also on Spotify as well. You can also go over and become a member on the YouTube channel. You can also go over to my PayPal and drop me a few bucks if you want to help me upgrade my equipment because this computer is 9 years old. Anyway, without further ado, welcome to the Eye of Jupiter podcast, Miss Misty Gaither.
Hey, how you doing, Tom?
I'm doing good. There you are. Hey, I'm doing good. I'm so happy that you decided to come on the show. I was highly recommended to you by Dawn, and she was like, "You got to talk to Misty." I was like, "Well, I guess I will be doing that." And now you're here.
Here I am, practically in the flesh, and just just ready to talk about two of my favorite subjects. Well, three. I like meeting new people, and I love talking about the paranormal and true crime. So here I am.
All right. So, Misty, for the people at home, the people watching all around the world, do us a favor and, tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you.
Sure, you can find me. I'm the host of Quest, A Journey into True Crime and the Paranormal. It is on YouTube. Of course, please and like and subscribe to Eye of Jupiter. And also, my channel would be cool, Quest. And what we do is we talk. I don't like to say interview, but I like to have conversations with people that I've been watching on TV for years in both genres and getting to know them better. It's like I'm on a journey. I want to
Yes.
find out everything that I can, no matter how weird or whatever. I want to know everything about the paranormal and true crime. So,
All right, there you go, guys. There's the link right there for everyone watching at home, everyone on the thing. Go over there and click on Mrs. Channel and go ahead and like and subscribe to that if you enjoy true crime and you enjoy the paranormal. She seems to be the place to get all that, all that information slash. Well, it is entertaining because the scary, that's why horror movies exist to begin with. So go ahead and do me a favor and do Misty a favor and go ahead and hook her up.
thank you.
So, how did you start getting into what you do? What is it about the paranormal that made you go, you know what, I want to run a podcast as well?
Right. Oh, well, when I was younger, I always, I knew that I was different and like I could see things that other people couldn't see or hear things. And, I just kind of pushed it aside. And then about 4 years ago, I had met Carrie Roy. She's a New Orleans psychic medium. And she just kind of opened my eyes to my gifts of being a psychic medium, which I
Wow.
kind of thought that maybe is what was going on, but I wasn't 100% sure. But after I, connected with her, and it just really just opened my eyes, and I started using my gifts and just being more interested in everything. And so, about 3 years or so ago, I started doing a podcast. And I've been doing this quest for about a year now, and
Wow.
I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's
you know,
that's great. Shout out to Magical Journey, my buddy. We know who you are. You were on the podcast with me as well. You also just sent me $10. You guys are incredible. I appreciate all of it.
the
This
gift
is
is
too much. At $20 in one day, this has never happened before, and I'm completely blown away. Uh so Oh, Pam, you are the queen and you're awesome. Yes, yes, Magical Journey, you're awesome. By the way, you guys, if you have any questions for Misty, please do me a favor, write them in there, and we will, like last week, I will have on, what was her name again? I want to say Candy, but it's not her. Her name is Angel, and she's going to be talking about Ghost of Memphis. She was born and raised there, but she now lives in the city in Mexico where I currently reside. And
Okay.
she's gonna, yeah. And so I met her like through the solar panel company that I work for, and she was like, "Hey," and we like hit it off. And she's really fun, but she couldn't make last week. It was a family situation. So, so you're a psychic medium. So how does it? Because there's people. I learned this yesterday. I did a podcast. Check that one out. That one's coming out in I think August the 9th. This lady, she became, she called it a walk-in. Do you know anything about that?
A walk-in, you said?
A walk-in, yes.
I'm really, unfortunately, not familiar with the term.
Hmm.
Maybe it
I'm
calls for
sorry, I
some.
didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, no, no. Look, I'll be honest. If I don't know, be the first one to say.
I appreciate that too. She had like a kundalini awakening,
Okay.
and she also had a voice telling her to run to the church, and then like some type of Christ consciousness
Okay.
enveloped her, and the person who was chasing her, who was this bad boyfriend or whatever, and she was like, well, if you want to come into church with me, you can. And he wouldn't even step up. It was wild. And she explained a walk-in as if, like she was one person one day, this experience happened, and now she has memories of being the person she was, but now as you are a medium, and she completely sees the world through the eyes differently, like another soul entered her body. So that would be a walk-in per se. I have to look into it myself a little bit more. I was kind of dumbstruck by what she was telling me. So what gifts do you have? Like, how do you help people being a medium?
Okay. What I do is I consider myself like a bridge between the living and the dead. And people come to you when you are a medium, and they want peace. They want to hear from those that are, their loved ones. They want to know, are they being seen? Are they around them? Things that happen. Is that my, grandmother or whomever it, may be? And it's the way that I look at it is, not only are you trying to find answers and peace for the living, but you're also giving answers and peace to the dead. Because
Okay.
as important that it is to get messages to the living from the dead, it's also important to get messages from, you know,
The vice versa, yes.
right. Because I mean, it's the dead. Some of them, it's important to them to find answers in peace. Because you go through this change and whatever that you're supposed to go through when you pass, and it's important to them to be able to let go, to know
Right.
that things are okay here at home. So
And
that's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing that, to find that closure for some people and the answers.
well, so when you say you help one of the people who have passed over or now deceased, how do you get confirmation? Are they able to tell you that they're now able to move on into whatever else instead of being kind of in between worlds, or however you would describe it? I mean, how do you know that?
It's by every I think that every medium has like different ways that they can communicate with spirit. Mine personally is, I don't hardly ever see anything physically like in front of me. Like, oh, okay, there's thing, like in my mind's eye, I can see it. I
Yes,
get
the mind's eye.
right.
Yes.
That's how that I'm able to see spirits, and then also to communicate, um, to with them. It's just weird. I'm trying to think of the like the correct way of describing like the thought process that I get when I'm reading someone, and it's just like the phrases or whatever will just
Hmm.
automatically come to me, and I share it with the individual, and
Oh
then
wow,
they're the ones that can confirm if it's true or not.
wow. So it's kind of like it's because as Magical Journey put it, he said, "Are you? It's like an empathetic type feeling, or it's just kind of natural that it comes to you when you like, say, for example, someone of the deceased will like you'll run across somebody or meet somebody at a party or at a gathering or something of that nature, and then maybe you will hear this and it's like intuitive, and you will say, "I have a message for you." Is that how that happens?
Yeah, it sometimes happens at parties. If I try not, depends on what spirits I'm partaking in. No, but seriously, um, it's it happens at parties. I actually do readings where people will come to me to have private readings done, or like in an event or something, where they just come up to you, and then you just kind of go from there and tell them what you see around them or in their life.
Wow. Have you run across any type of malevolent type spirits?
I have.
Wow. Could you maybe
Um,
describe without, of course, leaving out certain details, of course, we
sure.
like being innocent.
Um,
Like, could you describe one of those situations?
Yeah, I do. On top of being a psychic medium, also a paranormal investigator. So I
Oh,
go
okay.
into, different homes. They'll ask me to come clear the home if they're, thinking that it may be something evil, and everything's not evil. I have this saying that I say a lot is how you are in life is how you are in death. And
Right.
so if grandma was like real mean and hateful, and she's not, probably more than likely in my opinion, not going to, cross over and just be all cheery and wonderful and all that. What was still is. And so it's not that maybe somebody's evil, they're just being themselves, mischievous, like getting their
Yeah.
own way, you know. So, that's one of the things that I do is, we do house cleansings. I've came up before with, you were talking about an evil spirit or whatever. Matter of fact, I'm going next week. Me and my wife, we're hosting a 3-day, 3-night lockdown at the Haunted Hotel in New Orleans, which is allegedly the place where the Axeman that went on him, that he's still unknown, but it's allegedly where he stayed during 1918, 1919 when he went on his killing spree. Anyway, so to answer your question, yes, I had investigated there before, and the Axeman literally, when you when he's around, you actually feel the anger and rage that
Wow.
yeah, you can actually feel it. And I mean, I haven't seen like things stream down the walls, or you know crazy stuff like that. But you can I pick up pretty good if someone is not on the up and up, and
Uh-huh.
they have some bad juju going on. I can pick that up pretty good. Right.
I have a really maybe odd and also philosophical type question. Like, there's people, I don't know if you're one of them, who believe in reincarnation, and then there's people like yourself. I'm not gifted in that way, who are speaking with the deceased. Does that those do those two type of ideas come in conflict with one another, or is it maybe when you're helping the deceased that they're able to reincarnate into the next incarnation?
I'm still on the journey about the reincarnation. I do not know everything about that. Um, I am getting more into that part of it. Like I said, I'm new. I'm on this journey. And do I, in the way I was raised, I mean, it was like that was, being a psychic medium, reincarnation, totally out of, no discussion there about it. But
Right.
yeah, you just could not. And times are changing now where it's more open, people are talking about things more. But the reincarnation thing, I'm learning to see, because like you said, what I'm able to do helps someone else to transition into a different plane in a different way. Now, do I walk up to somebody, oh, you've had 6, 7, 8, 10 lives previously? And no, I don't do that.
No. Okay.
Maybe I'll get to
Wow.
that point, but I'm not, as you
Well,
can tell by the hair, I'm not Teresa Caputo. So
Well, you'll get there. I mean, you're
I'll get
being
there.
a
I'm trying.
paranormal investigator. It's
Right?
highly interesting.
You
Yeah,
know,
you
Harris
look
is
great. You look
amazing.
great. You look great
Right.
today, baby. You look great. So being a paranormal investigator, like, how did you stumble into that? You're just like, I'm going to go do this because something happened to you as a child, or people were coming to you, like they felt like you had empathy towards their situation, or like, what? How did that come about?
Well, when I was younger, like I said, I would see things. I wasn't able to really sleep at night. Um, I, was up and down and, my parents' door and causing mayhem and, because I could see it and then nobody would believe me. And, um, and it was just, like I said, I learned to shut up and
Wow.
keep it to myself, until I got older. And I never knew. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew something was different about me.
Wow. Smurfy, I don't know. That's definitely not the person's real name unless they're blue. They wrote that they are a bit of a medium themselves, I imagine. I could tell people first and last name of the deceased and information about themselves without needing any info about them. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Do you have that as well? There's like, I mean, I'm sure it's an odd situation or an odd conversation starter to go in there and be like, "You're John, right?" Well, how does that process come about?
Well, I just get, like I said, I get like the feeling or the thought process, the name or whatever will cross. You know, I, it's just kind of weird trying to explain, but kind of go across my mind. And like the other day, a few weeks ago, I was doing readings at. I was a guest reader at Mystic Path in Gretna, and a lady and I was taking a short break because it's hard to do one after the other.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah, so I was taking, and I'm sorry, y'all, that I'm like fidgeting with the thing. I'm not set up here at the house, but
She's
to
not in
do
her
this.
studio today. She's out and about.
Yeah, so y'all excuse me. But anyway, I was outside taking a little short break, and the lady, I guess she was next, and she came out and she was like, "Hey, are you still doing readings?" And I'm like, yeah. And so she went back in, and the minute my hand touched the door, I got a name, which
Wow.
was Richard. It came to me as Richard. So I sat down with her and I said, I know this sounds kind of weird, but as soon as I touched the door handle, I got a name, a Richard. And she's like, no, no, nobody should use name Richard, nothing, nothing, nothing. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, but I'm telling you, I got to go back to this Richard part because it's like not letting me go. So, I'm in Louisiana and nothing's pronounced how it is, right? So she stops all of a sudden. She goes, wait, my best friend's last name is Richard, which is
Also, it's
Rich.
Like Frenched up a little
Yeah,
bit. Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
In Louisiana, Richard, last names especially, well, is Richard, is how they pronounce it. And so it came to be, that there was a Richard, like
Richard.
you
Yeah.
said, right, or if you spelled it, right, was in her life. And so we got to go through her friend to get to the husband and, went from there.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. So, when you do a paranormal investigation, how do you go about it? What is it that you do to? I mean, because some people are in it for the frills and the chills. Some people try to look at it through a quote unquote scientific perspective. How do you go about it?
I go about it, of course, you like the chills and the thrills, but I go about it because that's just making another connection to the unknown that I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's like with each investigation, with each show that I do, with each reading, I'm getting that much closer,
Wow.
to trying
And
to
this is
find
an
out.
intuitive feeling. Is it getting stronger? Your abilities? Is that what you're trying to tell me, Misty?
Yeah, it is. It's like you always learn something new from these investigations, such as you know, like one way is not always the correct way that they're all spirits aren't the same. So you have to, and you have to remember that they were once people too. And so being respectful, and mindful is one of the greatest gifts that you can give to the spirit,
Right,
is
right,
to,
right.
that's one
Welcome
of
to
the big,
Mexico.
hey,
And kids
no
playing
problem.
outside.
I'm surprised it's so quiet here at the house. We have, fur babies and kids, and so it's a wonder it's so quiet here. But anyway, it's just, to me, it's just that, the more that I can learn about the spirit world, it, like you said, it does help me develop, you know, more into my gifts.
Okay. We have a great question from Pamela, my
Hey, Pamela,
administrator.
how
With
you doing?
hi, Pam. Do you have to be in the presence of the person to be spoken to by the spirits, or by the spirits connected to that person? I
No,
imagine. No.
no,
Interesting.
um, you do not. It's weird because I think of the energy. They're not always going to stay at one location. I believe that the energy is, it travels. Some of the best, I guess, results or whatever that I've gotten is actually at work. And I do insurance billing, my day job. So, that's boring as hell. So, I'll just be sitting there, and all of a sudden, I'll just start getting thoughts that I know that are not, like whatever I'm working on. So, what I do is I write it down, and then I know that it's going to be for someone. And it usually the person is not too long, and they're put in my path. And I'm like, hey, by the way, do you have uh, somebody named Margaret in your family that's passed away? And they'll be like,
Right.
yeah. And then I'll, tell them what I got. And or even like like somebody scheduled a reading, and all of a sudden, like, the spirit will contact me and start giving out things. So
Wow.
you don't have, like, you don't have to personally be there. Like some mediums, like they conduct over like the phone or Zoom or whatever to do readings.
I've had that. I've had that before. I was asking about my grandmother, who was
Hmm.
like my favorite person in the world, like one of the strongest people I've ever met. And he was using the spirit box live
Yeah.
and asking questions. And I actually at one point heard her voice, his very distinct voice, and it was pretty shocking. So that's pretty incredible. Does it ever become too much for you, Misty? Has there ever been like where you're just trying to go to sleep, watch your favorite program on Netflix or whatever you're doing, and they're just, just constantly, like you're like in the movie Ghost when she was in there with her family and all that, and she's like, I can't take this anymore. Has that ever become too much for you?
Yes, it has. It does occasionally. Now that I'm learning more, I'm learning better how to control that. Like for a while, I couldn't sleep very
Wow.
much because, the way that I've always said about mediums is it's like you're a beacon in their dark world, and they know who can see them and who can't. And if you can see them and communicate, it's like they know, and so they'll try to get to you. Um, to talk to you, or just to, because what do they want? They want to be alive again. They want to be heard. They want to feel like that they still matter to somebody. So the time of day doesn't matter to them. They're just wanting to get what they need from.
It's not like they got a job anymore to go get up in the
Yeah,
morning
they're
and
like, hey,
make their
Miss.
make their
Yeah,
Cheerios and cup of coffee. Right, I got you.
yeah, they're like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's talk to Misty, who is asleep at this time. And so I do get, I do have, it does happen. So yeah, I'm
Someone said
getting better.
it sounds ominous. Is that, do you get it? Is it an ominous feeling for you? Are you able to say, for example, if someone's trying to connect you from the other side, and you're with your wife, you're, relaxing, getting ready for the evening, tucking yourself in, and getting ready to go down for the evening? Do you have the ability to say, okay, not now, and just kind of like, I guess, for the lack of a better sense or a word, shut it off?
Yes. I've had to learn to do that. For a long time, I would not do that because I felt that if I told them no or not now or can you come back later or whatever, that I would lose them. And I know it sounds weird, but I did. I thought, well, I, they'll get mad at me or whatever, and then they don't want to talk, and so I would, just not do that. But I've learned to set boundaries, which has helped. You have to,
Okay, yeah.
you know,
I can imagine. I mean, because you if, say for example, you have your I'm not comparing you to this, but like say a kindergarten teacher, you're there because you most likely love the job because they don't get paid very well. So they just love like helping children and developing them into the adults that most people want to have in a productive society. But I'd imagine at some point when the child is constantly pulling on your on your skirt or on your leg or on your pants leg or whatever it is, that you have to set some type of boundaries and able to so that you're able to, better said, uh, just be a person. I can imagine that could be just insanely bothersome.
right? Yeah, sometimes, but I like to think of it. Well, I was blessed with this gift, and that I should, whenever possible, use it for positivity. Like I said, for both the living and the dead.
Wow. So true crime. I don't know much about true crime. I do. I have listened to the last podcast on the left, which is probably the most popular. I'm guessing because I know them, so it must be pretty popular. And they're funny. I am a stand-up comic as well, so they kind of riff and wrath back and forth, and they kind of get
Right.
into a lot of stories. How do you do your true crime stuff? how do you go about that? Do you study it, or how do you do that?
I got you. Um, a lot of research. Um, like I'm doing. It should be premiering this Sunday on my channel. If you don't mind, like me just taking a couple of minutes to tell you about this particular case that I've been working on. It's in New
Absolutely
Orleans.
not. Please.
All right, thank you. Uh, it was January the 1st, 2016 in New Orleans. A Harvard graduate. I think it was his first visit to New Orleans. He was crossing the street in the quarter, got hit by a car. Okay, which is in itself sad, right? The car hit
Yes.
him and then drug him under the car for 8 miles across the bridge before he dislodged. They have pictures of the car that are grainy. They have pictures, composite sketch from the witnesses of the gentleman who drove the car. They have witnesses to the crime, and that was 2016. And here we are in 2024, and it is still unsolved.
I think
Now,
gentleman is being a little bit nice, but sure, please. I know you're trying to be, politically correct,
sure,
but 8 miles. Let's go ahead
eight
and
miles.
just stamp this as a monster. But okay, please.
Yeah. So it was, you know, right there in the French Quarter and drug all the way over it was called the Crescent City Connection, or used to be called the GNO Bridge, to what's called the West Bank before he dislodged. I have a problem with it. I've sat down, I've had meetings with a few people from the New Orleans PD,
Mhm.
Crime Stoppers. Everybody, of course, wants it to be solved. And it's easy sometimes, I feel, this is my opinion, for us to, like automatically blame law enforcement, automatically say, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. But sometimes people know answers to unsolved cold cases. And for whatever reason, whether it's fear, whether it's disinterest, whether I don't have no other excuse for someone why that they won't tell or share the information, I'll never know, because it's like, why isn't this case solved? It takes law enforcement, but it also takes everyone as a community to do your part to help with these cold cases.
Wow. So you're more into cold cases, or are you more into? I'm sorry, it's an awful way to put that. I know that is an awful way to say that, and I don't mean that. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody involved in this
Sure.
particular case and others around the country and or the world. But do you tend to be more towards, say, cold cases, or more towards like famous ones, like say John Wayne Gacy or Gary Ridgway or people of that nature?
Well, I am interested in them all, to be honest. I do have like I've studied a lot about John Wayne Gacy and the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway. I guess if it was, the cold cases, I really, because, it just, there's answers, and it's like, what can I do to try to help? And I also think that there is a needed correlation between the paranormal and cold cases unsolved, that there needs to be more an acceptance on both parts to help solve some of these cases of missing people and unsolved unknown cases.
So you're essentially, I'm going to read you as a comic. You're essentially a good-hearted person who wants to get to the bottom of a lot of this. Some of it's spiritual, where it's a little more difficult for people to understand. It's easier for people to understand crime and violence, and because we grew up with it, it's all around us, and we kind of live with it. Sadly enough, but for you, it seems to be a calling of sorts to just want to help. Is it? Am I kind of like am I anywhere's in the ballpark on that?
Yeah, it hits a home run actually, because I do feel like it's part of my calling to, I was given this gift of mediumship to have to help. And not only that, but to also, if you have a platform, you know, every show, has its place and its purpose. But I feel like my personal platform should be used to do, what I can do to have
Yeah,
results and get things done.
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I mean, you got to hang out. I like people like that because I approach it differently. I try to help people differently. Like people who have problems up here,
Right,
and
right.
because I'm a person who's experienced that a lot myself in my life, and kind of tell them the things that I've done to help myself, propel into a better version. But to do what you're doing is like more. I would say it's equally as good, but it's more, I don't know, physical. It's more like it's like you're doing like some type of groundwork, literally talking to the police department. And I think that's just tremendous, and I think that, and I thank you personally for something like that.
Thank you.
We have a question from Smurfy again. Has working with these cases affected your personality?
Not yet. Hope it don't.
So do I.
It's. Thank you for that question, Smurfy. Um, I wouldn't say that it affects me, my personality. It just makes me more aware of my surroundings and of mankind, of what people are capable of doing and capable of not doing. So it kind of
Yeah.
opens my eyes more than it doesn't. Of course, the cases bother me, or but it's more of a, like I said, it's more of an eye opening situation.
Wow. Fisher of Spam wrote, let's see if I read it from here. It's easier. How does one even go about talking to police about a psychic vision? Have you even done that? Have you had like a psychic vision come to you and then said, I need to go to the police with this? Have you done that?
I have not done that. That will be coming, I know.
Oh,
um, but
ooh,
but I think that the reason why it hasn't happened is because there's a lot of cynicism, I think is the right word, maybe, with the police, with law enforcement about using psychics, because you can't even, um, have a psychic medium, like you go to court and it's not admissible.
right.
How can you prove that grandpa came and told me, you know, that so and so was the killer? How am I going to prove that? Now,
Yeah,
there was only one case that I know of. There may be more now, but of a psychic being used in a, like being called to testify in a court of law,
right.
and I believe her last name was Kerr, and it actually happened here in the New Orleans area, where she was in California and actually caught the people while they were on the phone with her, and she told them where to go, and so they called her in as a witness,
Wow.
and
I've
that's
heard
the
of
only
another
case.
case. I've heard of another case too. Is a friend of mine, Rye, is over at the Codex of Curiosity, where he helped, where he had a vision of someone being killed, and it was like a friend of his or something. There's a lot of things that we could learn from certain, because there's a lot. The thing what happens is, I'd imagine there's a lot of stigmatism. Is that the right word? Stigmatism? I think so. Not astigmatism. That's a high thing. Where they go, oh yeah, yeah, you're this, you're that, you can say this, because Miss Cleo ruined it for everybody. If you
Oh
remember
yeah, thanks
Miss
a lot.
Cleo,
Thanks a lot, Miss
girl, you
Clinton.
know that she is a bad for you. You know. So there's a lot of that you have to cut through for the
Right.
real deal. Someone as yourself, for the real deal person who sees these things, notices these things, and can maybe actually help. So to get through that, I don't know if they'll ever be able to do that, because if it isn't science, then it isn't. It isn't everything, and I don't like that. I'm not a materialist. I'm a little 50-50 on a lot of things, which is fine with me. But I think if you're trying to solve any kind of case, whether it be a murder or someone being drugged 8 miles and then dislodged over time because of rubbing against the ground, which is just like I'm gonna have a hard time sleeping on that one. That's some dark shit. Uh, Pardon my French. I think we should actually go down that alley and exhaust every possibility to get to the bottom of it, and to because a big part of me is justice. I do not like injustice, no matter what it is, and that just that does bother me to a certain extent. I'm kind of went on a rant there. Let's see, Fisher. No, who was it? It was my buddy Magical Journey Road. Have you ever worked or know anything about the Trini Gibson disappearance?
The Training Gibson disappearance. I have not. Where is that located?
Would you go ahead and you can write that in the secondary? I think he's working at the time, because I want to have him on here on a live, but he's going to take a day off work to do so. But
Okay.
I'll have him on. So we'll continue on. Then we have
I will
Latoya
look it up.
Jackson. We're talking about Latoya Jackson. I don't know where that came
Then.
from. So when you do your podcast about true crime, do you just kind of go? It's kind of like you just you find a subject that interests you, or you hear something, or you listen, or have heard some certain facts and situations, or you have a witness on. How do you go about that?
Okay, what I do is I find something that of course is interesting to me, and that I think that would be interesting to others. Like this case here, I know around it was New Year's Eve, and so it's called the Josh Woodruff case, and I know that around that time, a lot of people think, they think about him, they think about his family. Um, what we did also was we actually drove as close as we could to the route that during um like I said, it'll be on Sunday, but we took drove that route that the killer did when he was dragging, to show people how long and just how poignant that it was, that you could have someone under your car like that.
Wow.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
agree.
yeah, it's
How
just
cold do you have to
crazy.
be to? And you hit a person.
Right. Yeah, you do.
Why don't you
Yeah.
at least stop? I mean,
Right.
maybe
You get
drugs
hit
are
one
involved.
and
Who knows, man? Who knows
right. I
nowadays?
mean, it's crazy. But yeah, it's of course, you want to have an interest, something that would be an interest to not just one demographic, but you know,
Yeah,
everyone
of
as much
course.
as possible.
So,
Try to please everybody.
so Magical Journey wrote it was a case, a cold case, I'd imagine. It's a disappearance in the Smoky Mountains in the 1970s. I don't know
Okay.
much about it. Do you know anything about the 411 or the missing 411? Have you heard of that?
The 411 that Dave Pilatus, I think is some his
Yeah, David Politis, I think is how you say his name.
yeah.
Yeah,
I have watched
we both might be mispronouncing
David
that.
T. So
who
it's
who
like
got closer? Who got closer? Was it Misty or was it me?
yeah. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I've watched his YouTube. I've seen the movies or documentaries that he's made about the 411, the missing, the hunted missing, and yeah, it's I think it's a good theory. I mean, because some cases there are no answers that we can think of.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
to
mean, I've
see
heard of a
people
case.
missing, just like boom.
Yeah, I heard of the case. I don't remember the specific case, the name of it, but I just remember the part about it that kind of was disturbing. Is that okay? So they went. It was like a hunting crew. They went into some national forest somewhere, and then this person didn't come back. So they went looking for him, and they can hear him, but they couldn't find him. And as they kept
Hmm.
trying to call for him, he kept getting further and further away as to where they eventually couldn't hear them anymore. And that is just
Right.
fascinating. That's why the Eye of Jupiter podcast, stuff like that, is where you go, okay, all right, now we're into something where we need to look into that because that's crazy.
Yeah, I
That's not a
totally
question.
agree. I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's just insane. And if you think about like where they are, what makes sense, is there really? It is a possibility. Maybe they did get beamed up or whatever happened, because nothing else makes sense. You can't find the people. You can't nothing. They'll be on the phone 1 minute and it's boom, gone.
They're going, yeah. It's by the way, this Paul, correct me if I'm wrong. It's this Saturday, the 13th. I will be on. I guess I don't know if it's correctly to say co-hosting with Paul on the Paranormal Among Us podcast, and we'll be on live, and we'll be talking about who knows what. Yeah, you said beamed up, so you have any interest in UFOs or other than the paranormal? Because there's a crossover. I'm sure you know
Oh,
this between the paranormal, UFOs, and cryptids. There's a nice little bridge there. So, do you get into any of the other aspects of the paranormal per se?
I'm learning to. I'm getting more into it than what I was. I didn't really, I used to think, oh, aliens, that's not, but the more I'm into some of these cases and the more, I watch stuff like Missing 411 and different hearing different people's opinions and some things that resonate with me. I'm like, yeah, maybe there is some truth to that.
Someone wrote David Pantalones because we couldn't pronounce it.
Hey, we were close. Maybe
That was funny, dude. I like
I
that one.
never say his name right. That's funny.
I think it's Pilates or Pilates. No, it's not
Pilates.
Pilates. It's not Pilates. I think that's like an exercise routine or something.
Not that. No, no, no.
Yeah,
Not
cryptids
that.
are extremely fascinating. I don't know. Do you? Is there any type? I know Louisiana. Louisiana is where. What is
Honey
his name?
Island Swamp Monster, the Rougarou.
What's the
Um,
Rougarou? What's the Rougarou?
the Rougarou is like Bigfoot in a way. They call it the Rougarou. It's
Okay.
got the
Also,
red eyes.
it's kind of like skunk ape or wood booger. It's kind of like
Something.
it's like a colloquial name for this entity.
And it eats
Because
gumbo. Right.
so if you go down south in New Orleans, say, well, I guess you maybe drive down maybe an hour, and you start to get into the delta of the Mississippi. That's all just swamp down there, right?
Pretty much like if you go more towards the Acadiana part,
Yeah.
they have the swamps and oh yeah, we got them.
Yeah, I
And
can imagine down there. There's things like in Florida they have the skunk ape.
mm-hmm.
There's actual a great video. I started watching the best footage of Bigfoot, everything. Of course, there's there's the Patterson Gimlin film, but there's also like other ones where you're like, okay, I've never seen this one yet. So yeah, I'm very into cryptids, but they're not into me, sadly. They don't know like this shit.
They don't come hear anything.
That was a great. So, is there anything you want to tell us before I get you up out of here? Anything about yourself that we would find interesting? Anything you want to promote? You got any documentary coming out? Are you going to do the moonwalk? What's going on?
Oh, well, I was going to do the moonwalk for y'all, but I hurt
Can't see your feet.
Right. I'm doing it now as we speak. But no, if y'all could please just, appreciate y'all tuning in to the podcast. And we usually drop on 11 a.m. Central Time on Sundays, right on YouTube. And got some interesting people that we talk to. And I do appreciate the opportunity to get to meet you.
Oh,
And
we'll be staying in contact. I mean, maybe eventually I can come on your podcast. I have some paranormal stories too I could share with you that I've experienced growing up and recently too. Ever since starting this podcast, it seems to be ramping up. So that's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. So one more time, the name of your podcast, and that way everyone knows to go over there and sign up and listen to the show. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's Quest, A Journey into True Crime and Paranormal, and you can go at Quest 504. And thank y'all all. Appreciate and your moderator Pam was great. Appreciate
Pam's
it.
killing it. She wrote it again. She popped up your channel right there at the bottom. Go over there and click on that and subscribe. Let's try to get her. Let's at least get her 5 subs. We got 5 people on here. Let's go over there. Smurfy, Pam, I'm sure you're already signed up. Paranormal Paul, go over there and sign up to Misty's channel. Let's give her a helping hand. And thank you so much, Misty, for coming on. And I appreciate it. You've been a wonderful guest and one of the few who really keep in touch with me to make sure that we're on at the right time. It's a rarity for me, and I love it.
That's all right. And I hope you'll join me on my show. I'll send you some dates and stuff for you to join me. And
we'll definitely do that.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll see you around. Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all.
So that was Misti Gaither. Go over, like I said, once again, go over and check out our channel. It's still here on the bottom. Let me go back to the comment section so I can bump it off of there. Let me go back to the comment section. Let me get it bumped off of there. Let's see if I can find it. How do you bump that back off? You can't bump it off from here. There it is. Boom. No, show. I just showed another one. That's sure we can hide it. Hide it. There it is. Anyhow, Misty, thank you so much for coming on. Really cool stuff. I've been running to Light of Psychic Mediums lately. The one I had on yesterday, she was that podcast number 26. That's going to be like Sam. What is his name? He's from the Tinfoil Hat podcast. He calls it a banger. That one's going to be a banger. I'm sure you guys are going to love that one. Of course, I have some other ones that are coming out that are also fire too. Don't get me wrong. It's just the one. There's always favorites, but it doesn't mean anyone is less favorable or less liked. If you like the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. Every Wednesday here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you will catch us live. You can go check me out on Rumble. You can go and check me out on Patreon as well. And remember, you are listening to the Eye of Jupiter podcast, and we are the Eye, and we are aware. I love you all. Thank you very much.
You have been listening to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. Remember, if you have any strange occurrences or stories or anything you'd like to share, please drop me an email at theeyeofjupiterpodcast@gmail.com and you'll be on the show. And remember, we are the Eye and we are aware. Thank you.